Welcome to today's episode of How the Game Was Won. Today I'm looking at the game between Magnus Carlsen with white and WhiteElo with black, played at the 9th Masters Final at Bilbao in Spain. This game was played on the 16th of July 2016. Carlsen elected to open with e4 and we went e5 Nf3 Nc6 bishop b5 Spanish opening in Spain, knight f6 d3 bishop c5 bishop takes on c6 d takes on c6 queen e2 queen e7 knight b to d2, and once again in this tournament Carlsen has opted for a seemingly very modest opening that suddenly goes pear-shaped for so before he can even clear his eyes properly. Bishop g4 h3 bishop h5 a3 knight d7 b4 bishop d6 knight c4 f6 knight f3 a5 knight f3 knight f5 queen f8 b takes on a5 rook takes on a5, and observe that position of the rook. It doesn't move at all for the remainder of the game. Castle short, queen f7 a4 knight c5 and queen e1. Note that the queen is moving itself out of the pin and is now free to create all sorts of threats without any major consequence. b6, and right at the moment, just to have a look, there's no ways that black could take the pawn on a4, because rook takes a4, knight takes a4, queen a5 threatens number 1, queen a8 check, and it attacks the knight as well, and black loses material because even knight b6 fails to knight takes d6 check, c takes d6, and queen takes b6. But getting back to the game in hand, So played b6, knight d2, which is an interesting pawn sacrifice. Rook takes a4, knight c4, and white is a pawn down, but his pieces are incredibly active. The black king is still trapped in the center, and all of a sudden black has to be incredibly careful because of the cohesive nature of white's pieces and the threats appearing all over the board at the same time. Bishop f8 played by black. Here, for instance, bishop e7 could have been played with bishop e3. King d7 would have been better, even though white still has plenty of compensation for the pawn. Bishop e3, king d7, and here black starts getting into serious trouble. Computer engines, for instance, suggested the completely impractical looking rook g8, which defends the pawn on g7 and puts the rook on a square where it is protected, and hopefully gets to untangle the mess of his pieces over the course of the next couple of moves. But after king d7, none of that becomes possible. We've got queen c3 played by Magnus. In this position, possibly black's best defense here is playing something like rook c takes on c4, d takes on c4, knight takes on e4, queen d3, knight d6. And black is the exchange up. So white is the exchange up, but black clearly has some sort of hope of defense now that it's starting to become some sort of a cohesion to the defensive nature of his pieces. But instead, So cracks under the pressure and plays knight takes on e4, which just allows knight takes b6 check, c takes b6, d takes e4, and now black's king is way too exposed in the center, and white very quickly. Carlsen very quickly wraps everything up with Queen c4, Queen d2 check, King c7, g4, Bishop g6, and Rook f to d1. In this position, because it's clear that Black is just about to be mated, without any real defense against the mating attack. So resigned, Magnus Carlsen picks up the win, and you might notice that from this tournament so far, the only how the game was won games that have been featured have been those of Magnus Carlsen, because he's been the only player on the decisive side of any of the games. So you've got 6 players playing, you've got 3 games a day, and only one game a day has been decided, and Carlsen's been involved in each one of those, losing the first round to Nakamura, but winning the next 3. So that is how the game was won. Be sure to click like, share, subscribe. Post any comments, questions or criticisms that you may have in the comment section down below. And last but by no means least, remember, stay carved up for the win. I'll see you next time. Cheers.
Go vegan!